Welcome back to the channel, another segment of Brian Reads the News. This is where I find an article online. I take it from my mouth to your ears, let you know what's going on in the world today. I've been working through an article, a Looper.com article of the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars. Just finished that one up. It went over so well, I thought I would seek another one out. I found another one here. Let me give you guys a look. This one is the 25 famous last words that might make you cry. This article comes from the website list25.com. It says here, last words have a surprising way of sticking in your memories like glue. Over the years, famous people have said some truly haunting and sad things on their deathbeds. Some are simple words and others are long paragraphs, but their poignancy might resonate, making you curl up into a ball and cry. Still, sometimes we need to hear their words to get that little ounce of inspiration or revelation to live our life to the fullest. Are you curious what people have said? Here are 25 famous last words that might make you cry. Let's take a look. At number 25 is Paul Walker. Article says here, right before he drove off in his Porsche and got into his fatal car accident, Paul Walker told Jim Thorpe, "We will be back in 5 minutes. We will be back in 5 minutes." At number 24 is Eugene O'Neill. Eugene O'Neill. Famous playwright Eugene O'Neill was born at a Broadway hotel in what is now Times Square. On his deathbed, he lay at a Boston hotel. His last words were, quote, I knew it, born in a hotel and goddammit, dying in a hotel room." At number 23 is Charles Gussman. Charles Gussman. Says here, working as a writer for radio and television for years, spinning stories for popular soap operas, Charles Gussman said before he died, quote, "And now for a final word from our sponsor." At number 22, Groucho Marx. Groucho Marx. Famous comedian Groucho Marx died in 1977, hospitalized in Los Angeles. His last words recorded were, quote, "This is no way to live." At number 21, Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill. It says here, Winston Churchill bravely led England and the Allies through World War II, but kept active after it. Reaching the age of 90 in 1965, he said on his deathbed, quote, "I'm bored with it all. I'm bored with it all." At number 20 is Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra. American singer, actor, and entertainer Frank Sinatra was forced to be reckoned with in the 1950s. In 1998, he suffered a horrible heart attack that left him critical until he died. With his wife by his side, he said, quote, "I'm losing it." At number 19 is Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford. Huge Hollywood actress Joan Crawford was diagnosed with cancer in her 70s. In her last days, 2 nurses came by her side and started praying. She said before she died, quote, "Don't you dare ask God to help me. Don't you dare ask God to help me." At number 18 is Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson. Perhaps one of the most well-known poets of all time, Emily Dickinson was delicate in her last days. Before she died, she was confined to her bed and left a note. It read, quote, "I must go in, the fog is rising. I must go in, the fog is rising." At number 17 is Truman Capote. Truman Capote. Truman Capote was a journalist and novelist famous for his true crime novel In Cold Blood. He died in the LA home of Joan Carson. On his deathbed, he said, quote, "It's me, it's Buddy, I'm cold." Buddy was his childhood nickname. "It's me, it's Buddy, I'm cold." At number 16 is Jane Austen. Jane Austen. Says here, Jane Austen is a novelist who needs no introduction. Famed for her many novels, she always seemed to have a way with words. Sadly, on her deathbed, all she could say was, quote, "I want nothing but death. I want nothing but death." At number 15 is Hunter S. Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson. In his suicide note, Hunter S. Thompson wrote, quote, "Relax, this won't hurt." The prolific and acclaimed writer shot himself in the head. Relax, this won't hurt. At number 14 is John Adams. John Adams. The second president of the United States, John Adams, is infamously known to have an on and off relationship with Thomas Jefferson. On his deathbed, Adams said, quote, "Thomas Jefferson still survives." Little did he know Jefferson had died hours earlier. At number 13 is Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison. The famous inventor Thomas Edison lay in a coma before his death. When he awoke briefly, he said, quote, "It is very beautiful over there. It is very beautiful over there." At number 12 is Ludwig van Beethoven. Ludwig van Beethoven. Ludwig van Beethoven is one of the most legendary composers of all time. He called his Fifth Symphony Fate Knocking at the Door. On his deathbed, his final words were, quote, "Friends applaud, the comedy is over." Friends applaud, the comedy is over. At number 11 is Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin. With his charismatic personality and enthusiasm for wildlife, he educated us about some of the world's most dangerous creatures. Sadly, Steve Irwin passed away when he was struck in the chest by a stingray. According to his cameraman, his last words were, "I'm dying. I'm dying." At number 10 is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs. Throughout his career, Steve Jobs revolutionized the technology industry. He built Apple into a technology powerhouse, but tragically had suffered from pancreatic cancer for 10 years. On his deathbed, his last words were, quote, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." At number 9 is Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton. Famous scientist and mathematician Isaac Newton pushed the sciences forward great leaps and bounds, and he was not a man of few words. He said before he died, quote, "I don't know what I may seem to the world, but as to myself I seem to have been only like a boy playing on the seashore and diverting myself now and then into finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than the ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me." Whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me. At number 8 is Michael Landon. Michael Landon. Many knew Michael Landon as the actor from Little House on the Prairie and Bonanza. He shocked fans when he announced he had terminal pancreatic cancer. But before he died, he said, quote, "You're right, it's time, I love you all. You're right, it's time, I love you all." At number 7 is Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston. In her last days, famous singer and actress Whitney Houston spoke to her friends and family about Jesus. The night before she died, she told her friend, quote, "I'm gonna go see Jesus. I want to see Jesus." Quote, "I'm gonna go see Jesus. I want to see Jesus." At number 6 is Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy. Actor and director Leonard Nimoy entertained and enlightened us for years on Star Trek. With the final tweet, he did it again. He wrote, quote, "A life is like a garden. Perfect moments can be had but not preserved, except in memory. LLAP, LLAP, of course, stands for Live Long and Prosper." Live long and prosper. At number 5 is Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson. The king of pop, Michael Jackson, was tragically addicted to propofol, and his doctor Conrad Murray continued to give it to him even when he shouldn't have. The addiction led to Jackson's eventual death, and in his last words he said, quote, "Milk. Milk was his term for propofol." Quote, milk. At number 4 is Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin accomplished quite a lot in life. He was one of America's founding fathers, an inventor, and an author. Before he died, he said, quote, "A dying man can do nothing easy. A dying man can do nothing easy." At number 3 is Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway. One of the most famous American authors in history, Ernest Hemingway traveled the world and found great success and failure in his publishing career. Right before he shot himself, he said to his wife, quote, "Good night, my kitten. Good night, my kitten." At number 2 is Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse's music career skyrocketed, but along with the success came drugs and alcohol addiction. She saw her doctor the night before her death, and Winehouse stated, quote, "I don't want to die." She died of alcohol toxicity. Quote, "I don't want to die." Finally, at number 1 is Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger. Actor Heath Ledger wowed us in his performance as the Joker in the movie The Dark Knight, but behind the scenes he suffered from insomnia, complaining about not being able to go to sleep. He mixed prescription medicine with sleeping pills. Before he died, he said to his sister, quote, Katie, look, I'll be fine. You know, I just need some sleep." Katie, look, I'll be fine. You know, I just need to get some sleep. So there you have it, another successful segment of Brian Reads the News. Again, this is the 25 famous last words that might make you cry. It comes from the website list25.com if you want to check it out in more detail. I like to do these Brian Reads the News segments, so if you like this sort of thing, please consider subscribing to my channel. Ring that notification bell, that way you'll be notified when the next one of these drops. Thanks again for watching this one to the end. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Welcome back to another episode of Brian Reads the News. This is where I take a story I find online, I take it from my mouth to your ears, and let you know all about what's going on in the news. Today is the 4th installment of an article I found on Looper.com. Looper.com. It is called "The Most Devastating Final Words Actors Said to Their Coworkers." We've done 3 of these, like I said. This is the 4th installment. If you like this one, you can check out the others, but let's get into it. The first actor we're going to talk about is Bob Saget. A stand-up comedy legend, Bob Saget is best remembered for his work in television. He provided the narrating voice of Ted Mosby for more than 200 How I Met Your Mother episodes and hosted nearly a couple more 100 episodes of the video clip series America's Funniest Home Videos. Still, Saget remains most famous for his role as patriarch Danny Tanner on the long-running sitcom Full House and its sequel series Fuller House. Of course, anybody who's my age, 47, remembers Full House. I never got into Fuller House, but Full House was a staple in my household growing up. We watched it every week, and and watched that whole family grow up. It was such a great show. The article goes on to read, while the characters of Full House learned how to become a family through 8 seasons, the performers playing the roles created their own lifelong connections. Tragically, the passing of Skagit in January of 2022 helped audiences realize just how close the actors of Full House were. John Stamos, who played the rock and roll loving Jesse, Uncle Jesse, revealed in an interview with the New York Times that despite some hardship and headbutting initially, he and Saget became lifelong pals. Sadly, it was his last encounter with a somber Saget that Stamos missed the most. Quote, he listened and he was thoughtful and didn't interrupt. He cared about what we were saying, Stamos recalled. Quote, I hate to say it, but it was the Bob that I always wanted to see. Meanwhile, Saget's on-screen daughter Candace Cameron Bure admitted that their final interaction mended a small argument, with the father figure ending the conversation with the emotional expression, I love you more for the trouble you're giving me, if that's even possible. It's kind of interesting to hear that he was a good listener. You know, you see him on his brash comedy routine, and you don't think of him really as a great listener, but that's kind of a quality that few people have. So to say he listened and he was thoughtful and didn't interrupt, that's kind of a quality that's very admirable. And of course that he said to Candace Cameron Bure, I love you more for the trouble you're giving me, if that's even possible. To end that conversation with love is always the way to go out. Up next, we're going to read about Robin Williams. One of the most difficult deaths in Hollywood in recent years was the passing of Robin Williams in August of 2014. Entertaining audiences of all ages, Williams collected a trove of awards, including an Oscar, as he built an astounding filmography. From his groundbreaking work on the ABC sitcom Mork and Mindy, iconic voice performances and animations like Aladdin, to the heartfelt dramatic roles in Good Will Hunting, Williams did it all while being widely beloved by fans. Sadly, audiences knew nothing of the depression Williams faced in his final days, alongside his diagnosis of degenerative disease Lewy body dementia. Yeah, Williams was definitely a character everybody grew up with. You know, Mork and Mindy, the Nanu, with the all kinds of crazy outfits and his suspenders. You kind of remember him from that. And of course, Good Will Hunting, that dramatic role, and the Dead Poets Society, they didn't mention that one. That was also a great movie that he was in, where he really showed off his dramatic role. I think he was quite an actor. I think, if I remember correctly, he actually went to school at Juilliard and was Robin was not Christopher Reeve's roommate while he was there. I'll have to double check that, but I think that's true. Christopher Reeves and Robin Williams were classmates at Juilliard. So the article goes on to read, despite Williams keeping his problems private, he kept dear friends close, notably staying in touch with was fellow comedy legend Billy Crystal, who co-starred in many projects alongside Williams, including the feature film Father's Day and an impromptu cameo on Friends. Quote, he's my closest friend, remembered Crystal during an interview on Today. We talk 3 or 4 times a day sometimes. Heartbreakingly, Crystal was deeply concerned for his friend near the end. In the biography titled Robin, Crystal recalls attempting to find help for Williams following his LBD diagnosis. Quote, I didn't miss a beat. Because of my relationship with Muhammad Ali, I knew a lot of really good Parkinson's research doctors, said Crystal. I've never heard him afraid like that before. This was the boldest comedian I ever met, the boldest artist I ever met. That this was just a scared man. Yeah, I guess it's nice to hear that Crystal reached out to him and tried to provide help and tried to provide doctors to help him through all that. Even if it didn't work out for him the way he wanted to, at least he made that available to him, and he had the best doctors available and chose the way out that he chose. So he went out on his own terms. Next actor we're gonna read about is Dustin Diamond. A tough truth about someone dying is that you will never get the chance to fix past mistakes or mend a broken relationship. Painfully, this occurred with Mark Paul Gosselaar and Dustin Diamond, who once represented the tightest of childhood friendships in the long-standing Saved by the Bell franchise. Playing Zack and Screech, both were the only members to appear in all three main entries of the series, including Good Morning, Miss Bliss, and The College Years. Diamond even outdid his co-star by joining Saved by the Bell, The New Class, upon the cancellation of The College Years. Yeah, again, I remember watching Saved by the Bell on Saturdays, and even watched a little bit of The New Class when that came out. Checked it out, it was such a phenomenon. Saved by the Bell was that when that new show came out, The New Class, I had to give it a look. Wasn't as good as Saved by the Bells, but still was pretty interesting, and it was cool to see Screech kind of grown up, doing his thing on there. Still in the same character, similar character, but just grown up. The article goes on to say, unfortunately, Diamond and Gosler struggled to maintain the same close relationship they presented on screen, especially after the show ended. Even more disheartening is that while many of the Saved by the Bell cast members remained friendly, even reuniting multiple times in recent years, Diamond was often excluded. Gosler and the rest of the cast tragically never took the chance to make amends with their childhood peer before the Screech actor passed away in February of 2021. Quote, "We did a Comic-Con back in 2019. I saw him. He looked healthy. We had a nice little conversation," Gosler said on his podcast. Quote, "Zack to the future. We didn't talk after that. What a lot of people don't understand is that you can work with somebody for many years and not talk to them again. It's a sad thing about the business, but it does happen." So that really doesn't surprise me that the kind of art imitating life, the jock, the cool kid, once the series ends, he kind of ostracizes the others. The geek leaves the geek alone. Sure, the geek was always a little different. That's why he landed that role, because he had that look and he had those acting skills. And growing up, real life, probably was imitating that show quite a bit. When Gosler went on to more success with I think he was on one of the ABC or NBC main show there, one of those crime dramas, and Screech was kind of just doing his own thing, all kinds of crazy stuff you heard him about, releasing erotic tapes and all kinds of wild stuff, and doing his own thing. And for the fact that they never made amends kind of says what kind of relationship they ultimately had growing up and ended with. It makes you wonder what it was really like. They all seem like pretty nice guys, when you see them on screen or in interviews and stuff. It seems like they could probably make amends, get along and let bygones be bygones. But the fact that never happened was kind of sad, I guess. And that's something I'll have to live with. So I think that's going to be the last one. We're going to do 3 here. Maybe we'll pick up with another installment. These have been doing pretty good. You guys like to watch these, I think. So I want to thank everybody for watching this one. Like I said, this is part of my effort to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. I'm about a quarter of the way there, so I got a long ways to go. So thanks for watching this one to the end and helping me get a few hours closer. Hopefully you'll be back for the next one. If you wanted to check out the other ones, we do have 3 others with other celebrities, celebrity actors that have passed their devastating last words to their co-stars. So feel free to watch that. Hit that subscription bell, ring that notification bell, and come on back for some more in the future. Thanks again. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Welcome back to the channel, another segment of Brian Reads the News. Today we're going to venture away from the reselling world. That's my world. I run 2 eBay stores. I'm a full-time reseller. I clean out storage units. I find deals at thrift shops. I flip those for big cash. But what we're going to look in today was something a little bit different. I was browsing about some of these famous characters on the Storage Wars show on A&E, and I came across this article. It came out of the website looper.com. They have the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars. The most devastating words they said to their co-stars. Here it is, of course, they start with Paul Walker. These are the final words that they say to their co-stars. Of course, Paul Walker suffered that tragic death. And let's see what he had to say. Let's get into this article. It says here, the death of someone close is one of the most difficult things people can face in their lives. Anyone who has lost a friend and a family member knows that those final moments together are often some of the most cherished and can provide not just closure but also memories that last years and years. Occasionally, the last words of a loved one are haunting, touching, or even profound. Though celebrities are frequently treated like they are larger than life, the reality of our mortality is no easier on them than any of us. Many actors and actresses have tragically passed well before their time. Their deaths not only have an impact on their families, friends, and fans around the world, but also their co-stars. Below are some of the most heartbreaking final words from icons, including Natasha Richardson, Humphrey Bogart, Chadwick Boseman, and John Ritter, whose deaths deeply affected their closest co-workers. First one they mention here is Desi Arnaz. Desi Arnaz was as big as they come throughout his acting career, which spanned from 1940 until his final film role in 1982's The Escape Artist. More famously, Arnaz was recognized for being the patriarchal lead in the groundbreaking 1950s sitcom I Love Lucy, alongside his then-wife Lucille Ball. The pair met on the set of the film Too Many Girls and eloped during the movie's production. Together, the couple filmed over 180 episodes of I Love Lucy, while going on to make films and special appearances. Unfortunately, the world's most famous couple of the time divorced in 1960 and shared a few exchanges until Arnaz was on his deathbed in 1986. In 2022, a documentary called Lucy and Desi revealed many truths about the Hollywood couple, including their final words to each other. According to their daughter, Lucy Arnaz, she united her parents to have one last conversation on their wedding anniversary, November 30, 1986. With it explained to Lucille Ball that Arnaz's time was short, and the celebrated actress reportedly exclaimed her love for her former co-star on a phone call in his final days, and he replied in kind. Additionally, Lucy Arnaz said that a month prior, Ball had paid her ex-husband a visit and they watched old episodes of their famous television show. He died on December 2nd, 1986. So that was a good one. They split and then they get back together. Him on his deathbed, she comes and says her final words to him, and they watch old episodes of I Love Lucy. That sounds like a great way for him to end his life. I'm sure she was probably the love of his life. Maybe the relationship didn't work out for one reason or another. That's probably Hollywood drama, a lot of it. A tough city to make it work in, but it's nice to hear that they ended it that way. Next person on the list is Ryan Dunn, of course the famous Jackass star. The article says, most famous for performing ridiculous daredevil acts as a regular cast member on Jackass, Ryan Dunn was described as the go-to guy for outrageous stunts that even such stalwarts as Steve-O weren't willing to try. A longtime member of the troupe, Dunn was undeniably closest with Bam Margera, since the pair had worked alongside each other in the Jackass predecessor series CYK. Unfortunately, in 2011, Dunn and his production assistant Zachary Hartwell died in an alcohol-involved vehicular accident in Chester County. Torn up about the loss of his friend, Bam Margera spoke about the accident with E! News a short time later. Quote, "He was my best effing friend in the world. I've been 5 days now and I can't stop crying," said the heartbroken Margera. Sadly, the former co-star then revealed the troubling final text that he received from Dunn the night of the fateful crash. It read, quote, "Stopping for a beer. Be there when I can." End quote. Weighing on Margera even further is the fact that he had been in a similar accident with Dunn 15 years prior. Quote, "He flipped me in a car 8 times at the same exact spot in 1996. Thank God I had my seatbelt on. Yeah, that one is not as of a nice an ending. Obviously, to those daredevils, they like to live that wild life. Obviously, drinking and driving is not a smart thing to do at any age, but young guys like that like to test the limits sometimes. Have a few beers and drive around, especially when you're driving those elite fast sports cars. Bad things can happen. So yeah, not a good ending to that one. Stopping for a beer, be there when I can. That's not the text you want to hear from a buddy before he crashes his car. So tragic story. Last text, man, heart-wrenching. Next on the list is Corey Haim, of course, the famous teen heartthrob. The two Coreys did all those famous movies together in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, it seems like there was a time when the Coreys ruled everything. Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. Tragic ending to that one as well, but let's see what they have to say about his final words. The story reads, "The death of once budding young heartthrob Corey Haim proved harrowing for Hollywood. The Canadian actor was an icon in the 1980s alongside Corey Feldman. Performers appeared in 7 different films together, most notably The Lost Boys. Unfortunately, Haim struggled with the trauma and sexual assault that he'd been subjected to as a young actor. Amid a downward turn in his career and financial struggles, addiction issues ended with Haim's demise in 2010. Although Corey Feldman and Haim's relationship was reportedly strained in the actor's final years, they had reconciled and were preparing to film new projects together, per Larry King Live. However, the most heartbreaking news to come out following Haim's passing was a promise that Feldman had made to his longtime co-star and best friend. Quote, "Corey asked me to make sure that if he died before me that his story was told," said Feldman to E! News about exposing the sexual assault the actors faced as teenagers in Hollywood. Quote, "I am doing exactly that. The only thing left is he wants people to know who the assailant was. And I hope to God that one day that story can be told too." Since Haim's death, Feldman has been fulfilling his oath, releasing a documentary about their childhood and appearing in multiple news outlets. Yeah, that Corey Haim, Corey Feldman drama is a tough one. Hollywood will chew you up and spit you out, right? There's a lot of dirty business going on in that city, and gets the best of them. Obviously, when you suffer that kind of trauma as a child, carries over into adulthood, and a lot of times people escape to alcohol and drug abuse. I think that was the case with Corey Haim. Some people never come back from that, so it's interesting to see Feldman trying to put that information out to the public. Not sure how successful he will be with that. He's had his controversies as well, so I'm not sure how the public's gonna take that coming from him. He's kind of an eccentric guy. If you follow him online, you'll see what I'm talking about, but tough thing to deal with. So I think we're gonna stop the video here. We got 3 into this. We might revisit this video in the future, but I want to call it an end to it today. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to my channel. If you like these types of stories, I do a segment called Brian Reads the News. You can come back and watch some more. Like I said, I might continue this article and look into some more of these final words of these actors. It's kind of interesting to see where they were and what they said when it all went down and their lives were ended. So I don't particularly enjoy reading too many of these, but to get in a few of them is alright. But we're gonna return to regularly scheduled content tomorrow. I have a big day in the life vlog. If you guys want to follow that, I do a reseller vlog. So please consider subscribing. Come back, watch a few videos, see what I'm up to, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Bye. Welcome back to the channel. Another segment, the final segment of the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars. I've been working through this article. This is the last segment of, it's a looper.com article. We've been through a lot of different actors and we're on the last 3 of the article, so let's get into it. These Brian Reads the News segments are an effort for me to bring articles from my mouth to your ears, let you know what's going on in the world today. This is just kind of a fun little article here, the most devastating final words. You guys have really enjoyed these. I think a lot of these videos are getting over 100 views. So I want to thank everybody for watching. I think we left off on... That's right, we left off on Leslie Jordan. If you want to see the last video, you can find out a little bit more about him, the little guy that passed away. He had that Southern drawl and some final words in a book signing. But today we pick up where we left off with Mr. Bob Hope. You guys remember him, the famous comedian. Here's a picture of Bob Hope in case you forgot. This is a Getty Images photo by Mr. Bruce Bailey. Bob looks to be some sort of Christmas party. The article says here, an entertainer of the highest order, Bob Hope seemingly did it all in his 100 years of life. A former boxer, singer, author, and a 19-time host of the Academy Awards, Hope was best known as an actor and comedian thanks to his 70-plus film credits and famous USO tours dating back to World War II. His signature self-deprecating humor made him a star for nearly 80 years, and he kept on joking through his later years, saying, "I'm so old, they've canceled my blood type." Hope died 2 months after his 100th birthday in July of 2003. He was deeply mourned by his wife, Dolores Hope, who spent much of her singing career performing alongside her husband on stage tours and film. Astonishingly, the pair were married for 69 years before Bob Hope's passing, and despite plenty of rumors of infidelity, remained happily together through 4 children. The couple's grandson, Zach Hope, stated that it was, quote, laughter to the end during an interview on CNN, and he was a comedian all the way to his final moments. One of the last things Hope said to his wife and family upon being asked where he wished to be buried was, "Surprise me." So that's awesome to hear that the grandson said laughter to the end, and of course he had that little quip at the end, "surprise me." Just kept his wit till the very end. It sounds like 100 years, wow. Hopefully we can make it to 100 years, right? Up next on the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars is Mr. Steve Irwin. Mr. Steve Irwin. For anyone who owned a television in the 90s and early 2000s, Steve Irwin is an unforgettable figure, suited up in his tan shirt and shorts and reading his famous catchphrase, "Crikey." Irwin was the premier wildlife educator and television personality called the Crocodile Hunter. With a heart of gold for all animals, Irwin especially focused on the conservation of Australian wildlife as a zookeeper and longtime host of environmental documentaries. Often sharing the screen with his wife Terry Irwin, the pair became international celebrities hosting a slew of zoology programs and specials. Irwin brought zealous enthusiasm and unadulterated passion to everything he accomplished. That continued until September of 2006 when he died during an accident involving a stingray while filming a new documentary. Although his admiration for reptiles was evident from his presentations, so was his love for his family, especially his wife Terry and their children, Bindi and Robert. Sadly, the Crocodile Hunter knew time was short and was considering retirement in his final days. Quote, "He never thought he would have a long life," Terry Irwin said in an interview on the Australian Broadcasting Corporation's Brush with Fame. Quote, "I remember him saying to me, I don't think I'm going to film anymore. I think I'm just going to spend time with my kids." The last thing Irwin said to his beloved family was goodbye, as he waved to them as they boarded a flight to Tasmania and remained in Australia to begin filming his final series. Yeah, I guess it's not surprising that a thrill seeker like that who works in a wildlife with crocodiles and alligators and whatnot is the Crocodile Hunter was didn't expect to have a long life. You know, he lived a dangerous lifestyle and it caught up with him. I guess it's, you know, he was probably thinking about spending more time with his kids and laying low a little bit, and was going to record his final shows and say goodbye to the limelight, but it just ended. Unfortunate for him. It was a sad ending to a good life. The final actor on this Looper.com article titled "The Most Devastating Final Words Actors Said to Their Co-Stars" is Mr. John Ritter. Look at him there. Award-winning actor John Ritter was a star of movies and television. As the lead in Three's Company, Ritter played Jack Tripper for more than 170 episodes. Alongside a slew of other television appearances, the actor was still at the top of his game in the early 2000s as the patriarchal figure in 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. Tragically, Ritter died abruptly in 2003 while filming the sitcom, much to the shock of co-star Kaley Cuoco, who would later go on to perform as Penny on The Big Bang Theory. Remembering her on-screen father, Cuoco spoke about her time filming 8 Simple Rules with Ritter on the 15th anniversary of his passing. Quote, "To this day, if anyone asks me about John Ritter, I get a little chill because I loved him so much," the actress emotionally revealed to E!T. In her final moments with the sitcom veteran, Cuoco attempted to check on his illness when he did something completely fatherly. Quote, "He sat down on the couch and he goes, 'I love you,'" Cuoco said, "and I was like, 'I love you too, silly man.' He goes, 'No, I want you to know I love you,' and I said, 'I love you too,' and he goes, 'That's it,' and he gave me a hug, and that was the last I saw of him." Yeah, I'm always a little bit surprised at the amount of love these co-stars share with each other. You know, I guess if they're on screen playing a father-daughter, you kind of develop those types of feelings a little bit to get in character, and especially if you're method acting, like a lot of them tend to do. But it seems interesting that those are oftentimes the last words that they speak to each other when there's a tragedy like this, that they remember back telling each other they love them. So I guess that's kind of a sweet thing to think about, that there's so much love on a sitcom like that. You wonder, you know, is it real or is it just acting? But I guess you have to assume that it's real if he's saying it genuinely to her off a camera. So yeah, kind of a sweet moment that's what she remembers about him, the last moments of John Ritter on set of 8 Simple Rules. So like I said, that's the end of this article. That's the final actor they speak about. This is a Looper.com article. We've been going through this. I think there's about 4 or 5 different segments on my channel now. They've been very well received, and you guys watch them a lot. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Of course, if you want to continue with the journey, I'm going to keep doing these Brian Reads the News segments. I'll probably find another article similar to this that we can work through over time, do a few segments, and hopefully you guys will come back for some more of that. Again, I want to thank you for watching this one to the end and for watching the other videos as well. If you haven't checked them out, you can always go on my channel and see the other actors and the final words, the final devastating words to their co-stars. They're all up there now, so thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell. We'll see you next time. Welcome back to another segment of Brian Reads the News. This is where I take a story I find online, I take it from my mouth to your ears, and let you know about what's going on in the world. Today we're revisiting a story I found online. Not a news story, but kind of a fun one. I've done 2 segments already. This is the 3rd installment. Let's take a look. Here it is. If you watch the channel, you've seen this image, the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars. Like I said, we've done 2 segments already from this article, and we're working on our 3rd one. Let's get into it. Today we're going to read about the final words of Chadwick Boseman. The final words of Chadwick Boseman to his co-stars. The article reads, one of the most recent heartbreaks to hit Hollywood was Chadwick Boseman's untimely death. Recognized for portraying Black Panther in MCU film franchise, Boseman was an award-winning actor who appeared on screens as far back as 2003. His death came as a surprise to most, as he never spoke about his illness publicly before dying in August of 2020 at the age of 43. Upon the actor's shocking death, his friends and co-stars were quick to fondly remember the Avengers star. Wow, just 43 years old. You guys remember how shocking that was when you first heard that? Man, I remember it. Let's get back into this. The article goes on to say, Josh Gad, who co-starred with Boseman in the 2017 legal drama Marshall, had a particularly special remembrance of his friend, noting that the late actor knew how precious every moment was. Gad tweeted one of his final text messages from Boseman, quote, "I urge you to go outside and take a deep breath," reads the message. "We should take advantage of every moment we can to enjoy the simplicity of God's creation." Boseman's final messages about living every moment felt especially heavy considering the secrets he withheld. I like that. I always like when they have such profound last words. What was it? I urge you to go outside and take a deep breath. We should take advantage of every moment we can to enjoy the simplicity of God's creation. Man, that guy was speaking the truth back then. Hopefully he's moved on to a better place and is doing well wherever he's at. Let's get into the next one. Up next are the final words of Natasha Richardson. Famed actress Natasha Richardson was the daughter of Emmy Award winner Vanessa Redgrave and a member of England's Redgrave family dynasty. Richardson made a name for herself in such films as Gothic and The Handmaid's Tale, before meeting the love of her life, Liam Neeson, during a Broadway production of Anna Christie in 1993. Their relationship quickly flourished, and they would go on to collaborate on further projects and welcome 2 children. Unfortunately, in 2009, the actress suffered an untimely fatal head injury during a skiing accident in Quebec, Canada. Yeah, I remember hearing about that accident in the news. I mean, it was such tragic news, and I know Liam Neeson took it really hard, and I remember seeing him in the news reacting to that death, her death. It was just such a sad moment. The article goes on to talk about it. It says, years later, during an episode of 60 Minutes, Neeson shared the harrowing final moments he spent with his wife. Quote, "Oh darling, I've taken a tumble in the snow." This was the last thing Richardson told him before being rushed to the hospital with significant blood clot. When Neeson arrived to be beside his wife, he realized the true extent of her injuries. Unfortunately, at this point, Richardson was no longer conscious, and Neeson was forced to make a difficult decision. Quote, "She and I had made a pact. If any of us got into a vegetative state, that we'd pull the plug," said Neeson. Meanwhile, his last words to his wife and former co-star were, quote, "Sweetie, you're not coming back from this. You've banged your head. I don't know if you can hear me, but that's gone down. This is what's gone down." Admittedly, that was a little bit of a clunky reading of that last quote, but I guess it says they made a pact, right? They made a pact that if they ever got into a tragic accident like that and were in a vegetative state, that they would pull the plug for each other, and then he had to uphold to that agreement, which, you know, a lot of couples, they discuss those things, and when you have to go and actually do it, it's a whole different story, I suppose, but that would be tragic, man. I couldn't even imagine having to do that. I think I'm going to make this next one the final one of the story. Until next time, let's take a look at this one. Here it is, the cover photo for the story, the final words of Paul Walker. Instantly recognizable for his long-running role in the Fast and Furious franchise, Paul Walker was at the height of his career when he tragically died in November of 2013. An action star and stuntman, Walker performed in over 30 films and even turned down the role of Superman in 2003, per Superhero Hype. His death in a vehicular accident was a tragic, if ironic, conclusion to the actor, given his connection to the Fast films and the enthusiasm for performance vehicles. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of irony in some of these deaths. These actors, you know, where life imitates art or art imitates life, however you want to put it. They ultimately meet their demise in a way that they portrayed on screen. It's a little bit eerie. The article goes on to say, the celebrated actor developed close bonds with his friends and castmates, specifically Fast and Furious co-star Vin Diesel. The pair were in the development of the 7th movie in their action franchise during their last interaction. Diesel had since shared the story of their final scene together, and the last words the friends shared, quote, "These action films can be very dangerous, no matter what anyone tells you," Diesel stated in an interview with Variety. Quote, "I started to think what would happen if Paul Walker if I died." Subsequently, Diesel recollects speaking with Walker about death while fretting his own fate. Reportedly, if it was Diesel who worried he would die young and told Walker to tell the world the kind of brother that he was. Quote, "I've played that over in my head countless times. That's the last time I ever saw him," he said. Yeah, I imagine you probably think about that a lot if you were in one of those franchises like Fast and Furious franchise where you're driving those sports cars, or even if the stuntmen are driving, you're in that dangerous situation, having to be put yourself in that. You can take all those safety precautions, but you hear about the tragic stories that happen on set sometimes. The accidents, you're just split second away from something really horrible happening, and yeah, art imitates life. It happens that way sometimes, and ultimately, that was the end of his life. And I think Vin Diesel's done a great job of keeping his memory alive with those movies. I know Paul Walker was a big part of their success, and he's continued those on and turned it into an incredible franchise. I mean, it's still going after all these years. So that's a testament to the hard work Paul Walker and Vin Diesel put into that project. Yeah, well, that's an end to today's segment of Brian Reads the News. We got 3 more in. If you guys want to see some more of these, the final words of these famous actors and actresses, and what they tell their co-workers before they move on, let me know. Let me know what you think of this 3, and if you want to, you can check out the other 2. Thanks again for watching. If you have a second, hit that subscription button, ring that notification bell, and come back for more. You're always welcome. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Welcome back to the channel, another segment of Brian Reads the News. My name is Brian Kingsbury. I run an online clothing store, but I like to do these Brian Reads the News segments to let you guys know what's going on in the world. We take a news article I find online, take it from my mouth to your ears, let you know what's going on. Today we're doing a continuation of an article I've been working through. It's the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars. I've done a few of these videos and they've gone over pretty well. You guys enjoy reading them, so I figured I'd continue on with this article. Let's see where we left off. So it looks like the last actress we left off with was Olympia Dukakis, and she got her final words from Cher. You can read that in the last article I did, the last news article. But let's continue on and see who is next. Up next, in the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars, we have Mr. Sean Connery. Let's see what they got to say about old Sean Connery. It says here, no one can deny Sean Connery's impact on cinema. The long-standing James Bond actor's monumental career spanned almost half a century. He collected plenty of awards and acclaim while performing in numerous beloved films including Highlander, The Hunt for Red October, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The celebrated actor retired in the mid-2000s, turning down substantial roles in both the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter franchises. Thankfully, Connery reportedly enjoyed retirement until his fateful passing in October 2020 at the age of 90. Wow, he made it to 90 years old. That's amazing. Connery's legacy made a lasting impression on many performers, notably Andy Garcia, who co-starred with Connery in The Untouchables. wrote an article for The Hollywood Reporter to remember the legend's days after his passing. Garcia, whose own filmography includes Ocean's 11, Internal Affairs, and The Godfather Part 3, called Connery his inspiration for becoming an actor. Regrettably, Garcia notes that it pains him that he had not seen his co-star and hero for many years before Connery passed, despite an open invitation. Quote, "We'd had a cocktail or two, and it was a beautiful thing," Garcia said about his last chat with Connery in 2009. "He lived in the Bahamas," he said. "Come to Nassau. We'll play some golf." I thought to myself, yeah, I gotta do that. I never did. It's a regret I have. Yeah, and an invitation from Sean Connery to come out to the Bahamas and play golf, and Andy Garcia never took him up on it. I'm sure that's definitely a regret. At least they had a nice last chat and a cocktail or two. Hopefully they made peace with each other before his passing, and he won't regret it too much. But just a reminder, you gotta visit those people before they pass in their final years of life. When we get up to those 90 years old, it doesn't go much after that. So get out there and spend some time with them. Up next, in the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars, is Mr. John Lennon. There he is, look at him in all his glory. John Lennon is overwhelmingly best recognized as a musical sensation, especially as one-fourth of the Beatles. For the majority of the 1960s, Lennon and his bandmates reigned supreme over the music charts, becoming the most influential music group of all time. What some fans may not realize is that the Beatles briefly parlayed their fame into Hollywood stardom. During the height of Beatlemania, the legendary rock group top-lined 2 comedy films, A Hard Day's Night and Help, and they almost starred in their own version of Lord of the Rings. Alas, everyone knows that the rock group endured a public falling out centered around disagreements between Lennon and Paul McCartney. The Beatles separated in 1970, 10 years before John Lennon was murdered outside his Manhattan apartment. McCartney has openly admitted that he was heartbroken that he could never fix things with his old friend. Quote, "I do feel it was sad that we never actually sat down and straightened our differences out," the Beatles said in an interview with Playboy. "But unfortunately for me, the last phone conversation I ever had with him was really great. Devastatingly, their last interaction was a positive experience, spelling potential for a possible reunion. Quote, "It was just a very happy conversation about his family, my family, enjoying his life very much. Sean was a very big part of it, and thinking about getting on with his career." So that's interesting. The final conversation between John Lennon and Paul McCartney, where they were discussing a possible reunion. I guess super bands like that often talk about reuniting, and this time obviously it didn't happen because he was murdered outside his Manhattan apartment. But yeah, it could have been something great should they made that reunion, but wasn't meant to be. At least they had a positive last interaction, and hopefully they settled things before his passing. Up next, in the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars, is Mr. Leslie Jordan. A personality larger than the characters that he portrayed on television, Leslie Jordan was a beloved celebrity until his unexpected death in October of 2022. Small in stature and speaking with a thick southern drawl, Jordan was easily recognizable in his on-screen appearances. Some of his most notable work includes appearances on American Horror Story franchise, a recurring role on Boston Legal, an Emmy Award-winning guest spot on the NBC sitcom Will and Grace, and the show he co-starred on at the time of his death, Call Me Kat. The performer gained significant social media following thanks to his comedic posts during the COVID-19 pandemic. Jordan's passing at the age of 67 shocked his fans, friends, and co-stars. Actor Max Greenfield, best known for the sitcom New Girl, shared a long friendship with Jordan after the pair met on the set of Will and Grace in 2017. Greenfield missed his last opportunity to see his former co-star just days before Jordan died. In an interview with E! News, Greenfield explained that Jordan attempted to visit him during a book signing. Quote, He tried to get in, but the event was sold out and they didn't let him in, said Greenfield. He texted me he was like, I tried to get in, I saw that you were so famous, they wouldn't let me in. They turned my little A away. By little A, they mean little ass. Yeah, 67, that's not very long. He's still a pretty young, relatively young man. I thought he would be a little bit older than that. I do remember him from his time on Will and Grace, at least. That was the one that I watched a lot of, and he was obviously funny in that show. And he always had a presence on screen with his southern accent. I guess it's nice that they made the attempt to go see him in his final days, and he was just too big of a star, was too packed at his book signing that he was unable to get in and say hello, but he went for it at least. That's all you can ask for sometimes. I think I'm going to call this the end to this segment of the most devastating final words actors say to their co-stars. I think we have 3 more left on this one, and like I said, there's other segments of this if you enjoy this type of thing. I've done I think 3 or 4 earlier segments, so we've gone through quite a few actors, and people are really liking these, so I want to thank everybody for watching. This is my attempt to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours on YouTube so I can monetize my channel. So if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and then ring that bell notification, and you can be notified the next time I drop one of these articles, one of these segments. We want to close out this good with a nice one, probably the last one it will be, and then we'll search for another one of these articles. Brian Reads the News, I do quite a few of these, so if you like hearing about what's going on in the news and have an article that you want me to read, feel free to suggest one. I'm happy to get on screen and read it for you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Welcome back to the channel, another segment of Brian Reads the News. This is where I find a news story online. I take it from my mouth to your ears to let you know what's going on in the world today. I've been working through this article. This is an article on Looper.com. It's called The Most Devastating Final Words Actors Said to Their Co-Stars. Let's take a look at where we left off. Here it is. Humphrey Bogart is where we left off. You want to check out the past video if you want to check out that, if you want to hear about Humphrey Bogart's final words. But today we're going to jump into a new actor. We're going to start with the final words of Ray Liotta to his co-star. Let's see what they got to say about old Ray Liotta. Unmistakable as gangster Henry Hill from the film Goodfellas, Ray Liotta nonetheless established an accomplished career beyond the mobster flicks. Quote, You want to do as many different genres as you can, and that's what I've been doing. I've done movies with the Muppets, I did Sinatra, I did Good Guys and Bad Guys, Liotta once said in an interview with Long Island Weekly. Quote, I decided that I was here to try different parts and do different things. So it is surprising that Liotta opted to take on a role in one of the most outrageous and original films in recent years, becoming the villain Sid White for Rambunctious Cocaine Bear. Tragically, it was one of the last projects Liotta would finish as he passed away in May of 2022. The film opened after he passed. Before Liotta wrapped up his work on the drug-infused Bear movie, he offered some touching words to his friends and castmates. The film was directed by Elizabeth Banks, who previously shared the screen with Liotta in the film The Details. She remembers her last interaction with the actor before he departed for another film set in the Dominican Republic. Quote, we had a great hug, and he was really proud of the movie. He laughed at what it had become, Banks recalled in an interview with USA Today. He also left a message with the director about Cocaine Bear, co-star Alden Ehrenreich, saying, quote, this kid's good, a last revered compliment from an actor of high caliber. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to go out with the Cocaine Bear movie, right? He's known for all those mobster movies and has been in a lot of different things, and that was his final movie, The Cocaine Bear. I heard a lot of stuff about it, didn't go to see it, but I don't know, it might be one worth checking out if it was his final movie. And Elizabeth Banks was actually the director. I didn't know that as well, but interesting to find out his final words before he left. He laughed at what he had become. Laughed at what it had become, Banks recalled. And he left a compliment for the young co-star. So, a compliment and a laugh, you can't ask for any more than that. Up next on the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars is Vic Morrow. One of Hollywood's biggest tragedies involved Vic Morrow, who died while filming Twilight Zone, the movie, in the early 80s. A veteran actor with decades of experience, Morrow's most notable performance was the leading role in the ABC 60s drama series Combat. Additionally, he appeared in many popular television programs including Hawaii Five-0, Charlie's Angels, and Fantasy Island. However, it is Morrow's final role in a segment of The Twilight Zone feature that cemented his legacy in Hollywood history books. In what may be the biggest disaster to ever take place while filming a movie, Morrow and two child actors ages 6 and 7 died in a helicopter accident in July 1982. The aftermath saw Hollywood mourning while years of civil and criminal court cases tormented the studio and director John Landis. The most disheartening news to come out of the catastrophe was that Morrow was reportedly quite concerned about filming around the chopper. From reports that were released after the incident, there were multiple concerns raised by cast and crew surrounding the stunt, including from Morrow himself. Remaining timid around the flying machine, the actor was overheard by cast and crew on the morning of the tragic accident, uttering his last words, quote, "I must be out of my mind to be doing this. I should have asked for a stunt double." So I was born in 76 and that movie came out, or was supposed to come out in 82, I think, the Twilight Zone, the movie. So I never knew anything about this tragedy, but his final words to be, what was it? I must be out of my mind to be doing this. I should have asked for a stunt double. He must have had that feeling, right? He must have had the feeling something was going to go wrong, and ultimately he was correct. He passed, and the two child actors passed, it sounds like, too. So, tragedy for Vic Morrow. Didn't know about him, but didn't know about that tragedy, but definitely one to remember. Up next in the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars is Olympia Dukakis. Fans of romantic comedies will remember the 1987 film Moonstruck well. The MGM hit starred singer Cher as a woman falling in love with her fiancé's brother, performed by Nicolas Cage. The movie collected 6 Academy Award nominations, winning one for Cher's leading performance and another for her on-screen mother and supporting actress Olympia Dukakis. Both actresses would go on to successful careers while maintaining a friendship to the end. Dukakis became a regular in television, films, and miniseries, building a significant filmography and earning several Emmy Award nominations along the way. Sadly, Dukakis became severely ill and passed away in May of 2021 at age of 89. But she was quickly honored by her former co-star, co-Oscar winning castmate. Quote, "We laughed all the time. She would tell me how she loved Louis Zurich, her handsome, talented husband," Cher recalled in a social media message after news of Dukakis' passing. Cher went on to reveal that she had recently spoken to Dukakis as she received hospice care. Unfortunately, Dukakis was struggling to hear or speak at the time. However, a conversation with Cher seemingly perked up the ailing actress. Quote, "I called her into the receiver, Olympia. It's Cher, I love you. Remember Moonstruck?" She said, "Oh, Cher, I love you." She was weak but happy. So that would be interesting, a way to go out, right? A phone call from Cher, right? The iconic actress, your co-star on a award-winning movie, Moonstruck. You guys won, what they say, 6 Academy Awards? Nominated 6 times and they won 2, I think it said. So, pretty crazy that they remained friends all that time, and she would get that final call in hospice and was able to hear from Cher before she passed. And she said, "I love you," and She was weak but happy. So that's a good way to go out. So I think I'm going to end this video here. We got through 3 of them. I think we got 6 more to go. So we'll continue on with this article, kind of an interesting article from Looper.com, where they look into the final devastating words the actors said to their co-stars. I think you guys really like hearing these. At least you're watching them. So I'm going to keep doing them until we get through this article. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this one and you'll consider watching the others. Again, this is my attempt to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. So if you're interested, hit that subscription button, ring that notification bell, then you can come back and watch the final 2 segments of this article. If you want, there's others up on the channel. Just search the most devastating words actors said to their co-stars and you'll find them up on my channel. But thanks for watching this one. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Welcome back to the channel, another segment of Brian Reads the News. Today we're going to jump back into this story from Looper.com. This is the most devastating final words actors said to their co-stars. I've done a couple installments from this story and we're going to pick up where we left off. Today we're going to pick up with Mr. Elvis Presley. There he is, Mr. Elvis Presley. Look at how young he was there with his beautiful co-star there. This must have been one of those Hawaii films he did. Article says, without question, Elvis Presley ranks as the biggest rock star of his time and is often regarded as the greatest cultural force of the 20th century. The hip-shaking singer became an international sensation for his groundbreaking, best-selling music that crossed multiple genres. Launching to stardom in the mid-1950s, Presley dominated the charts until his shocking death in August of 1977, although his influence is still felt today. During Presley's revolutionary career, audiences all over the world clamored to see the king of rock and roll perform. His prominence and natural charisma helped make him the transition into acting, and he quickly emerged as one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars. Between 1956 and 1969, Presley starred in 31 feature films ranging from westerns to romances that almost always included original musical numbers. Some of the most famous roles involved the utopian island backdrop of Hawaii, which is where he met his co-star Irene Tsu on the set of the 1966 Paradise Hawaiian Style. He smelled like baby powder and milk, a starstruck Tsu recalled in an interview with Fox News. The pair became quite close, bonding over spirituality and mutual love for martial arts. However, it was her last interaction with the king that resonates for Tsu the most. Quote, he just looked at me and said, keep that light burning, baby. And that was it, she said. I guess he lost his light. Couldn't find his way home, you know. I truly feel he worked himself to death. It was very tragic. Yeah, those are some interesting final words. Keep your light burning, baby. That seems like something Elvis would say, doesn't it? Keep that light burning, baby. And that was it. I guess he lost his light. Yeah, it's kind of tragic when you get into drugs and Hollywood and all that it offers, and you kind of escape from everything and you lose track of what it's all about, you know, what it started as. And, she definitely sounds like she saw that in him, that he lost his light, and it was definitely passing that message on to her and others, not to lose your light. That's a good message from the king, I suppose. Up next is actor Scott Wilson. Veteran actor Scott Wilson amassed film and television credits dating back to 1967. Despite earning a Golden Globe nomination for his supporting role in the 1980 film The Ninth Figuration, Wilson struggled to find much notoriety in the acting game until late in life. His aging performer finally found success and fame when he joined the cast for the second season of AMC's The Walking Dead as farmer and veterinarian Herschel Green. Maintaining a regular role on the series for 3 seasons, Wilson saw his star grow even brighter in Hollywood, as landed the main role in Netflix series The OA. Heart-shatteringly, it was the height of his celebrity status that Wilson passed away in October of 2018. As the shocking news of his death broke, it was almost simultaneously revealed that Wilson would return for season 9 of TWD. The season debuted the next day with a touching tribute to the late actor. Subsequently, his co-stars honored the late performer by remembering him as a warm and entertaining man. In an interview with MovieWeb, Norman Reedus Daryl Dixon of TWD recalled his hilariously touching last visit with Wilson. Quote, "He's sitting there next to me and he can't speak very well," Reedus said. "I looked over at him and he looked over at me and I go, 'You're such a effing a-hole.' And he just starts laughing." Yeah, I was never a fan of The Walking Dead and never got into those zombie movies or anything. That wasn't really my thing, but I know they were popular a few years back, and it's kind of tragic that he had to pass on like that. Kind of cool that they are able to find humor in those final moments. I always like when that happens. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can laugh about it, right? A lot of times that's how people deal with grief. They turn it into humor, which is a perfectly normal way to deal with grief. But yeah, it's kind of cool to see him go out like that with a laugh. Up next is Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart. An icon of classic cinema, Humphrey Bogart helped Hollywood become what it is today thanks to performances in timeless films such as Casablanca, The Maltese Falcon, and The African Queen. However, as important as he was to the film industry, the same attention could be given to his longtime wife, superstar actress Lauren Bacall. The pair met on the set of Bacall's first film, To Have and Have Not, and despite a significant age gap, Bacall was 19, Bogart was 44, they hit it off. They married soon after and went on to co-star in several movies including The Big Sleep and Key Largo. Bogart and Bacall's marriage remains one of the Hollywood's truest love stories. The hardened Bogart, with a reputation of spitting bullets, reportedly shed tears the day he wed his young bride, and they remained happily together until his health deteriorated. Bogart was ill for the last few years of his life, with Bacall and many celebrity friends at his side. A long-standing rumor suggests that Bogart's final words were, quote, "I never should have switched from scotch to martinis," which sounds like the witty vernacular of a classic actor. However, it is better documented that Bogart spoke last to his wife, telling Bacall, quote, "Goodbye, kid, hurry back." Mournfully, the actress left his bedside to attend to their children, but Bogart had slipped into a fatal coma before she could return. Yeah, admittedly, Bogart and Bacall were far before my time. Interesting to find out that 44-year-old fell in love with his 19-year-old co-star. I guess that was commonplace back then. And they had a love story, Hollywood love story, that ended as romantic as it began. "Goodbye, kid, hurry back," was the last words he said to her. And then he joked to his buddies, "I never should have switched from scotch to martinis." So you can see why those guys are such stars with lines like that. You know, it sounds like a movie almost. I think that's where I'm going to end this one. I usually do 3 at a time. I like to do 3 at a time with these, or I get a little bummed out with all the thoughts of death. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I know you guys have watched these, so you enjoy this as well. So I like to look in and learn a little bit more about the final words of actors to their co-stars. So let me know which one you liked, and be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you can become aware of the next installment of this article. Again, this comes from looper.com. It's kind of a fun little site. They have all kinds of information and fun little stories on there. So I'm going to continue with this one till we finish out, but thank you for watching this one, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.